and welcome to another installment of Schiffbauer Over Rocks. I'm really excited to have you here today. This is my friend, a great colleague, Michael Pollock. Mike, also known as Mad Mike. Mike's really interesting in the fact that he was able to take a love of thrifting and grew it into a full-time business, selling over thousands of pieces over time. But enough about me talking. Mike, get into it. Tell us how we met, and let's just tell a great story about this self-employment.
So, Mr. Paul, I met Paul in my second semester of my freshman year in a marketing class with Mr. Gerald Patnode. Anyone in this area knows,
Shout out to Jerry. I want to tag you on LinkedIn.
He's a nice guy, real nice guy, very knowledgeable.
You probably even don't know this exists yet, but you will soon.
Yeah, so Paul sat in the front of the class, always asking questions, talking. One of those people that if you're not about that, you would think he might be a little annoying or I don't know how to say it. Paul was just an interesting guy. And I think it was during that class, he had an article posted in the school newspaper about his brand at the time, Noor Gallery. Or is it just Noor at the time?
Yeah. Oh, that is not a plug, but no, shout out. Those guys are cool. But yes, it was an op-ed.
Yeah, so he had a article in the school newspaper. I hit him up through that because at the time, like I said, I'm really into clothing. So I figured what better than to get together with someone who's like-minded. So before we met up that day, we actually ran into each other in the bathroom, which was very random. But that was, 5 years ago now?
About 5 years ago.
5
Time
years
flies.
ago. And we've just been trying to do our thing, support each other, talk to each other, talk about business, and just really put ourselves out there to learn and understand how all of us can help each other, whether we're doing the same thing or not doing the same thing. Because I remember talking to you about thrifting stuff back when we were still in school, I
remember it was more just an idea. It's like you were doing it kind of on the low.
Yeah, I was in school working at Giant, doing my thrifting thing, and then school finished up. I quit my job at Giant, and I just ran with the clothing thing because that's what I loved, and I just felt deep down that I was going to make it work, and if not, I had a backup plan to fall on. And now it's to the point where I don't need at least I don't feel like I need the backup plan just because I know what I'm doing. You know what I mean? The steps keep happening, the ball keeps rolling, and I just keep putting in the work to make it happen. And that's deep down really all you need to do if you want to start your own business.
Now, kind of going back when the day leading up to you quitting at Giant, you go from, steady income, what you're making per hour. And I can only imagine all right, fuck. I mean, I've been there too. It's just, I got to do this. But if I don't put the time in from a self-employment standpoint,
yeah,
I'm not going to make any money. How do you feel about that risk at that time?
Well, at the time, I would be at Giant. So, I'd work night shifts, 4 to 10. And everyone in my department would leave around 4:30, 5 o'clock. So, I would do the bare minimum. And then I would just start posting my stuff online. There'd be nights where I'd sell $200 or $300 worth of stuff. And I'm just what am I doing here?
How's it happening?
I'm making $9 an hour here. I'm here for 6 hours, making a whopping, I don't know, nothing, jack shit in the grand scheme of things.
Before there's $15 an hour minimum wages for those out there.
Yeah, taxes. Everyone knows you don't make any money when you work a job like that if you're trying to get to your next level. So I remember talking to my girlfriend at the time, Nina. We're married now, just put that out there.
Mm-hmm. Shout out to Nina.
Yeah, she's awesome. She was one, other than Paul, and my mom she could understand what I was doing. But a lot of people anyone I tell about just didn't fully understand. And Nina was just you're not making shit at this job. Just quit and you'll be fine. And what do you know? I quit. I probably had $500 and quitting that just gave me the freedom to fully put all my energy into exactly what I wanted to do so that I could make this happen. And it's just been a long process of work, doing what I love. And it's easier to work at something when you truly love it and it's a passion of yours. Now it's just a purpose driven thing for me now, where it's like I can't imagine myself doing anything else.
Yeah, I definitely attest to that, and I agree with you. It's when you wake up and you generally like what you're doing and love what you're doing, it makes things a lot easier. It's not a chore. It's
100%.
not a task.
Because like there's parts of the business, like doing stuff like that I can't say are my favorite, but I'd much rather be doing those parts of my job than out working for someone else where it's just completely unsatisfying.
I've only worked for a few people in this my whole grand scheme of employment.
Yeah.
I kind of want to get your thoughts. What is the most unsatisfying things about working for somebody?
Like my first job, I worked at Taco Bell, and I don't know. It just, you go into work and you just be around a bunch of miserable people making $7.35 an hour, which is just like fun, even funnier that I was making that little, and just
it's
like
crazy. And I bet at the time it's like, man, like this is not bad. Like I'm going to the movies on weekends.
Yeah,
you know?
I'm buying what I need to buy, buying some clothes here and there.
Going to the mall.
Yeah, and at that point I was just like thrifting for fun, like just to find cool stuff, because I just don't like spending money on clothing. And don't take that wrong, I do. There's pieces I appreciate that I will spend money on, but in the grand scheme of things, there's a lot of things out there that aren't worth the money that we pay for. Like, you know what I mean? I'll just use a Nike sweatshirt as an example. You know, you pay $50 or $60 for it. You wear it for 6 months and then you get rid of it and it's depreciated in value almost 100%. It's worth nothing. Whereas you go to a thrift store, buy something for $5, you only got $5 in it. You lose $5. It's whatever.
Yeah. And it's the irony of this, that whole, we were talking about it earlier. It's just like you are in a retail space and in a predominantly an apparel space, but it's just a reseller's market.
Yeah.
So the fact that like that person with that Nike sweatshirt, you know, they're giving it up 6 months later, their value is essentially zero. In a reseller's market, you know, you might get it for pennies on the dollar. Mm-hmm. Depends on where you go, and then you might make $5 off it.
Yeah, and it just, the biggest thing too is, I guess I want to just put this out there, is that just because you pay for something and it's valued at the MSRP of $100 doesn't mean that it's actually worth that. And that's where if more people understand that everything's not worth as much as it is retail, then people might spend their money a little differently.
Yeah, it's really fascinating. It's just the whole perception too, because you had the perception of the $100 price tag, and then from a reseller's market, it's like that perception over time.
Yeah.
It might be maybe $5, $10, $20, but at times it could be $150, $200.
Yeah, it's all about what's popping, and that's the best part about my job, is that I can constantly find new things to sell that yesterday I didn't know was worth money, but today everyone wants this, or tomorrow everyone wants that. And it's just, I said in the car, like, if people were buying poop tomorrow, like, I'd be selling that. Like, it doesn't matter to me at this point. Like, I'm a salesman. I like selling stuff, and it's just awesome to be able to just do something that you genuinely love and just keep making the money doing it. So it's just, you got that idea, just keep pushing it because it'll come through.
No, I definitely attest to that. In terms of your sales process, are you looking more from a trend standpoint, or are you looking more at this is my market, or these are my markets, these are my kind of customers?
Well, it's a little bit of everything. It's like on Instagram, I have certain markets. On like websites I sell on like eBay, like there's just so many people on websites like that certain aspects of that website are like saturated, but then there's other sides of it where it's like, oh, someone's really looking for like this random t-shirt that they didn't make a ton of, and someone's willing to spend $100 for it when people in this area could give a shit less about it. Like I found this one, it was like an anime shirt the other day, and it's just like, I looked it up, it's worth like, they're selling for like $70-$80, and like it sort of caught me off guard because it's like just something I picked up because I thought it was cool. And that's another thing, like people who, if you think something's cool, someone else is bound to think it's cool. So just keep rolling with it. Like there's so many different things that I buy on so many different levels. Like, is it practical? Yes. All right. Someone will buy it. Yeah. Is it cool? Yeah. Someone will buy it. Has someone bought it? Like, oh, I found this item again. Someone's going to buy it again. So it's just, there's so many different levels to the markets that I have that it's hard to even put a pinpoint target on it. Like right now, vintage is really popular amongst like younger people, but vintage has been popular for like a long time. Like,
go into that a little bit more. I'm curious.
It's like these dudes I follow, F is in Frank up in Canada, if anyone knows who they are. They're the OGs, but their parents sold vintage at Woodstock. So it's like 1969 Woodstock. Like,
see, that's like hard for me to comprehend. What is vintage Sierra 1969?
Yeah, so like they were selling 30s and 40s clothing at the fest. And it's just like it's one of the best ways to recycle, especially today with like, not going to throw anyone under the bus, but like you guys know the mall brand stores that you buy it once, you wear it, you know what I mean? You wear it a couple times and it gets thrown right in the trash, or you donate to Goodwill and then it goes to a landfill eventually, you know what I mean? Or it's just not a sustainable way to live. And I think that the more people who realize that you can get good secondhand items for a very cheap price, it's awesome. Like save your money and get something cool at the same time. Like it's a win-win.
No, that's definitely interesting. I can't believe this back in the day. I could not imagine be like, hey, yeah, I want to get something from the 30s, you know, right now.
Yeah.
And we're about to hit 1970, but this looks cool.
And now it's like everything's popping. Like it's so hard to find stuff that old. Like, you know what I mean? The oldest that people find now, like on a sort of like a weekly basis would be like the 40s and 50s. I mean, getting older than that is just like,
I feel like almost impossible.
Yeah. People got to realize too, that like clothing was made so well back then in that, well, people didn't have the money they have today too. Like you bought a pair of jeans back then, you were going to wear your jeans until they were shot. Yeah. And you were going to patch them. You were going to repair them. You were going to do everything to them because that's just what you did. And stuff was made nice.
And it's the materials too. It's this, I think it was a trend after like during World War II where a lot of things that were really organic based materials from clothing to even this like soap went synthetic. Just because of war rationing.
Well, yeah, like
never really changed.
Back in the day, like people would use their jeans to like insulate their houses. Like you get old jeans
That's wild.
Yeah, so it's like a lot of things. Like it'll be interesting to see like do these mall brand clothes last 10, 20 years from now, or would they just be completely gone because they just produce so much of it, no one wanted it, so it gets thrown in the trash. And
or there's just a lack of quality where you almost cannot like resell it and recycle it in a vintage fashion.
Yeah, because it's like stuff like H&M stuff, like you can't hardly give that stuff away once you bought it at the store. Like every once in a while you can, but like for the most part, it's just not that nice. And I genuinely believe that at one point we were making things so nice that there wasn't any need to buy anymore in a consumerism type of way. You sort of have to cut back on, I think like, you know what I mean, cut back on the quality so that people buy things over and over again, because it's like crazy finding stuff from the 60s and like it's nicer than stuff you can even buy today,
even from like 10, 20 years ago.
Yeah,
in terms of like fabrics and whatnot.
Yeah,
construction. I'm just kind of curious, what is one of your favorite pieces or some of your favorite pieces that you come across?
It's changed over the times. Like initially I got into it as like a strictly like nostalgia thing. Like my grandpa really liked NASCAR, so I was really into like NASCAR t-shirts. And like when I first started buying those, like you could hardly give them away. Like people didn't want them. And then like
now
rappers start wearing them. And it's like, now it's just like, I'm just waiting for the next thing. Like when I see like Aeropostale and Old Navy stuff, I'm like, I'm just waiting for like Kanye to wear it so that everyone wants it.
I think he did wear like something like Hollister a couple months back, or something like off the wall.
Yeah. What's funny to me is that I was under the impression that Hollister started like way back in the day, and they didn't start till like 2000.
Really?
Yeah, which would like make sense why like they were so popping in the malls when we were younger.
Yeah, and they had some kind of nostalgia factor about them, definitely. Like how it's like, oh, we're from the West Coast,
and we're old school.
This is what men and women look like. You got the beach bodies, and it smelled like shit when you walked in.
Oh yeah, and that's where like now that you don't need the retail space anymore, it's almost like, what's the point? Like if you could go online and find something that's way cooler than what your mall has, like why would you even go to the mall?
And I think that's being in the retail space, like online retail space for a minute selling wall decor. I used to go to these trade shows and it was always crazy. I felt like it was like almost like a black comedy, because like we're millennials and it's like, we know like online shopping's popular, but you have these guys like telling these like people in their 50s and 60s. Like, yeah, your retail store, you need to go online. And like, they don't have websites. And this is like 2-3 years ago I'm talking about. I'm just kind of like sitting in these seminars. I'm like, this is like, to me, common sense. Like, you don't have any online component of your business. Like, what's going on? And they're talking about like the retail apocalypse, but like, it's been a slow burn ever since like the Great Recession, in my opinion, because of Amazon, they like made their own wave, and then now all these guys are trying to catch up. Yeah, and reverse engineer.
Yeah, and my like thing on it is that like retail isn't dying; it's shitty retail that's dying.
Correct.
It's
stuff
not
that should have died out years ago.
Yeah,
Sears.
Yeah, like exactly. Anything like that, it's just like stores like Walmart will never go out of business, but stuff like
no.
You know what I mean? Like
Absolutely
big box stores, it'll be interesting to see what happens with like Dick's in the future. Like, can they afford a huge...
The one in our backyard went up.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The one in West York.
All right. Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
So they're actually...
But it's like, how do you afford a 15,000 square foot retail space to sell sporting goods? Like, it's just not happening anymore. And like, I feel like too, like between the internet and like just the idea of buying used, like... Stuff that's used doesn't have to have a negative connotation to it. Just because someone else used it doesn't mean they actually used it. They could have bought it, put it in their closet for 10 years, and then like, oh, I don't need this anymore. You know what I mean? The wife's cleaning out the husband's closet, and then she's like, you're not wearing this stuff anymore. I'm buying you new. So it's like, then it all gets thrown out. And I think the more we can give second life to stuff, the more we can break down this process of just all this bullshit being pushed on us. Mm-hmm. Because when you buy into the bullshit, more of it gets pushed onto you.
No, I agree. It's just a hype machine, and that's, I mean, marketing at the end of the day. We're appealing to, I tell people, marketing appeals on two basic things: happiness and fear.
Yeah.
So it's either, hey, you know, you're going to look fresh, you want this new shirt, you want people to like you, or it's like, you're missing out if you don't have these right now.
And that's what makes me feel good about what I do, is that not only can I offer a good product, but I can I can recycle in the process and not just start my own brand and just push onto people until there's nothing left there. Because now it's at the point where, like, with stuff that I sell, it's like there's a never ending to it, because people are always curious, like, oh, what's next? What next? What's he gonna find next? What's going to pop off next that he already knows about or something. So it's just a never-ending cycle of learning more and just growing as a person.
And it's interesting you say that, because what's he going to do next? You've been thrifting for a while now.
Yeah, I have. I don't know. I'm just taking it day by day, step by step. Whatever I feel like works for me, works for me. And if one day this doesn't work for me anymore, then I'll know it's time to move on.
How do you feel about... You've had success in your space. Do you feel like there are imitators within your sphere, your physical market, your digital network, I should say?
Definitely. Like, but that's anything. Like, there's a facade to every business. And
absolutely.
I guess it's easy for people to look at my business and see, yeah, he just goes out and finds cool clothes all the time. But at the same time, it's like I put in work, like so much work, that I've gone days where I don't find anything. I've gone weeks where I find so much I don't know what to do with. It's such a up and down, left and right, in circles. It's all over the place. And I've just gotten to the point now where it's like I'm just so knowledgeable on clothing and fashion, and not in a cocky way, but just in the aspect that I do know a lot about clothing. Like, I can touch certain fabrics, know what they are, certain brand stuff. I just know what it is by looking at it. It's just interesting to see that myself get this far, and that looking throughout the past couple of years, I've known I've been deep into this, but I just keep getting deeper. It's like there's no ending point. It's like I'm in the ocean just swimming down. It's like I'm at 10,000 feet and there's still a million more feet to go.
Once they pulled me out.
Yeah, and they're not pulling me out. I got an anchor tied to me, and I'm going the whole way to the bottom.
Deep blue sea, baby. I love it.
Yeah.
And it's really fascinating too. I feel like, coming from someone else who's self-employed, you almost have to be immersive.
Yeah.
Using like the whole water analogy, and almost obsessive to really hone your craft, get better as a professional and individually as well, and just to provide an overall better product and service, whatever that may be. And with that too, obsession it's not necessarily, it usually has a negative context. It's a good obsession. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, like I definitely agree. This whole clothing thing is started out of an obsession for clothing, and it was just like a better way for me to. Thrifting was like a more reliable way for me to get a lot of clothing without spending a ton of money. And then once I realized I could make some money in the process, it was just like, all right, let's obsess more, obsess more, obsess more. Let's learn more fabrics. Let's learn more brands. And every single day I'm learning about a brand I didn't know about the day before, because that's how the game works. Like the deeper you get in, the more you learn about, the more you know this stuff will sell. But the crazy part about fashion is at any moment something can fall off and you're stuck with something no one wants.
It takes a moment.
Yeah.
Like, it's literally could be a celebrity who's an influencer.
Yeah.
Where they wear stuff into the Grammys.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, like, people are ordering thousands of shutter shades.
Yeah.
Shout out to Kanye West.
Mm-hmm. And it's easy to, I don't know, it's just so funny to me because I've seen it happen in things where I'm like, this is going to pop off. And then it does. And I'm just like, wow, like, who would have thought I would have understood that and seen that coming?
From a fashion standpoint, which is crazy. I feel like, I'm not going to put words in your mouth. Well, you consider yourself more of a salesman and a business owner rather than some kind of fashion.
Well, I guess
connoisseur.
it started as fashion until I realized that selling stuff is just, you're selling. Like, it doesn't, I know I'm a good salesman. If I have a good product to sell, I could sell anything. And that's where I'm just going to pride myself on having the best quality stuff I can have.
It's kind of like, people who work on the stock market, they're good at finances. They're good working with stocks.
Yeah.
You're good with working with fashion.
Yeah, and it's just,
In this context.
everything's different. It's like, it's not 1960 anymore. You don't have to go get this boring job. Like, if you know about something, more than likely you can make money off of it. And you know that, like,
Absolutely.
There's a ton
insane.
of people, and it's you just have to give yourself more credit for what you do know. So when the time comes to put in the work, you can just keep killing it.
In the information age that we're in, and I'd love to get your thoughts on this. I think, actually, I don't think I know. It's like the most perfect time to start a business, especially where the economy is right now currently.
Definitely.
Unless it takes a hit between now and this premieres. But that being said, it's just like someone who might not be well off, a kid, he could just, if he has internet access and access to like a credit card, a debit card, he can research about drop shipping, start an e-commerce store, keep it really lean, and only really pay money when he gets money coming in.
Yeah.
It's almost no overhead.
Well, and it's crazy, like, how young some of these kids are thrifting. Like, they have Instagram. They know what the stuff is. Like, they want to look fly. And I see kids young as, like, 13, 14 in there, like, trying to hustle. And it's just, like,
That's
just keep
awesome,
starting, like, the
honestly.
younger you are. Like, because if you know about something, chances are other people know about it. You're not the only one. It's
Or
just
they're interested in it like you are.
Yeah, and just because you might be the only person in your area or whatever, you feel like you're the only person, you just put yourself out there, and I'm sure that, I'm not saying I'm sure, there is more people out there who are into what you're into, who know about what you're talking about, and that's where, like, the networking comes into contact, in the idea that, like, just talk to people. You know what I mean? You go out, you see someone in a cool shirt, tell them you like it. You know what I mean? You appreciate something, you tell them. And you never know what can... Some of the craziest relationships I have with people is just going up to them and saying, like, what's up? Or, like, I like your shirt. I think what you do is cool. I can appreciate what you do. And it's just creating a good relationship with people, because a lot of these things with, like, what I do, like, wouldn't happen if it wasn't for all the relationships I've created.
And I tell people all the time, I think the most important thing in business, especially for those in business for themselves, it's just how you nurture relationships and how you go about developing them. And you could be working for someone a 9 to 5, and there's nothing wrong with that if you're happy and fulfilled. But, like, that's an invaluable skill to have, is dealing with people.
Yeah, and every day I meet new people, and it's next thing you know, they're hitting me up saying they got this to get rid of, and they're hooking me up with the biggest hook I've ever gotten. And it's just like, had I not said something to them, I wouldn't have had anything.
No,
so
it's
just,
like you're not even necessarily going out your way to make those opportunities come about. They're coming about as a result of you being genuine.
Yeah.
And you just being honestly interested just for a brief moment.
Yeah.
Hey, how you doing today? Like, you're donating this today. That's cool. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, because then next thing you know, that person who's donating that's got 100 more at their house that they're willing to just get rid of. You know what I mean? It doesn't hurt to ask a question. It doesn't hurt to be nice. like it honestly takes more effort to be like a dick or rude to someone.
I'm
like
a firm believer in that. It's just like you almost got to be mean, especially if you're a positive person like me. It takes me a lot of effort to be mean.
Yeah,
or like
you know what I
this
mean?
like totally like shove somebody off.
Yeah, because there's been times where like, yeah, you're a dick to someone, but they get like everyone, you get what you deserve, and if you just believe in yourself, and know that you're deserving of whatever you're doing, it'll all come back to you. I mean, you know that, like
One way or another.
Yeah,
I feel like if you give value, you receive it in return in one capacity or another.
yeah, and the biggest thing is just don't burn your bridges, even if you have a fault. You know what I mean? Even if you haven't talked to someone for a while, even if you're not on the best of terms with someone, just don't burn the bridge, because you never know, that person could be the one person you need with the hand out trying to help you, and you burn that bridge, you lost that.
You got to keep doors open as much as possible. I mean, there are times where that might come about where certain relationships are unsalvageable, but I think it's important, if you can keep things healthy with people, keep it healthy.
Yeah, and definitely, and just knowing when to keep things to yourself and not put all your business out there, because that's what I've learned it the hard way. Just like, you know what I mean, you tell someone about something, next thing you know, they're digging for exactly what you're digging for, and it's just keeping things to yourself until you have it such on lock that no one else can mess with you. And that's what, like I've said, I've learned the hard way, but you got to make mistakes to learn, to grow, to get to the next level.
It's all about kind of failing forward in that capacity. It's another thing too. It's even once you put things out, it's like you got to lock down. It's like even if someone tries to imitate you or maliciously, it's just like, hey,
to each their own. I can't get mad if you're trying to make some money. Do it, but at the end of the day, if you're doing it just for money or just for a certain reason, then you're only going to last so long, because eventually it's not going to be worth your time and effort when you're just trying to make the money. Like people always say like, oh, would you still do this if you didn't make any money? To an extent, yeah, because I love it. Like, I obviously have to go get a job where I actually made money, but at the same time, it's like fashion is just it's always revolving around. It's always every couple years this comes back around, every 10 years that comes around, 20 years that comes around, and then you get that obscure thing that you were just sitting on thinking, oh, this was cool, and then all of a sudden it's the hottest thing, everyone wants it, you can't get enough of it. Which
is nuts to me. It's just how, it really does repeat itself.
Yeah, and the internet is just really, it's almost like there's no niche categories of things anymore. There is, but the lines are all blurred. Someone who's a football player can be in the musical, can be into fashion, can be into this, be into that, and it doesn't need to be, the roles of things are sort of dying out. Like, you can be who you want to be and just push it, and if that's who you are, that's who you are. Don't let anyone tell you who you're not.
Yeah, and that's, I feel like, very, very important, especially in the context of going off to do your own thing.
Yeah.
You leaving employment. So whatever working a 9 to 5, and let's say, you're just kind of fed up with life and you want to do something, take that time, take those nights, take those weekends off and work towards something, a side hustle. Yeah. I mean, if people don't really fucking support it and it's the right thing to do, fuck them for the time being.
Yeah, I mean, you're just working for someone else. Like, do your own thing. Like, the worst comes to worst, you go get another job again. Like, I'm sure if you had a job with a company and you do it in a good way, like, there wouldn't be any reason why they wouldn't just hire you back. But at the same time, it's like, if you're working at 9 to 5, take that extra hour or two. You put in an hour every day. At the end of the year, you got 365 hours that you put into something, and that's enough to.
That's crazy. The amount of work weeks that is. Honestly, people don't realize that an hour a day.
Yeah, I can't do that math off the top of my head, but
that's like what? Yeah, it's like it's a couple weeks.
Yeah, and that's where I did it in a way where it's like I was in school, so I had that extra time to do it. And even if you are working a job, I'm sure you got time where you're not doing shit at your job, where you could be doing something for yourself. Like,
I work with subcontractors that do shit for like us on projects while at their like daytime jobs.
Like I know guys that do this thrifting thing.
Names, but
I know guys that do this thrifting thing. Like this one guy I know, he's a nurse. He works night shifts, and then he's at the thrift the next morning. Like he doesn't care. Like he's trying to make some money. He's trying to do something that makes him feel fulfilled. And if doing that makes you feel fulfilled, then just do it. Whatever makes you feel fulfilled, do it. Like you're better off to spend your days doing something you love and making no money than you are to spend your day doing something that makes you miserable for 8 or 10 hours and have some money to show for it.
Yeah, I do make less money than a lot of people my age that I went to school with.
But it doesn't matter because you can, like today, I said, I'm not working. I'm coming to do this podcast with Paul. Like,
and we're here, baby.
Yeah, so it's like, yeah, for sure.
Gotta love it. I love a nice whiskey sour too.
Yeah, Paul put me onto these today. I didn't know I liked them till today.
I just picked it up recently. I just watched Once Upon a Time in Hollywood in this hilarious scene where like Leonardo DiCaprio character is talking about like him having one too many whiskey sours. So I'm just like, I haven't had a whiskey sour in a while. Let me make some.
Yeah, Paul's the only man I know that's, how are you, 25?
Yeah.
Yeah, that drinks whiskey on the rocks with nothing else. Like,
I tell people, you can judge me all you want. My favorite beverages are Jameson, black coffee, and water in that order. I have a very mature palate.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he's Mr. Paul, rocking the Monarchs. If you know, you know.
I'm about to take it off this to show everybody because I actually got these from Mike, believe it or not.
You know, you got to hook up Paul. He's my one of my number one supporters from the original. Look at that bad boy. He's not a dad, but he looks like one.
I can pull it off.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, look at that shoe.
I mean, on podcast right now, marketing consultant meeting later.
Yeah, he can just pull up in those.
Take mom to Applebee's.
And the thing that people don't realize is that those have really great support and they're very comfortable shoe. Like, people make fun of them, but there's a reason why Nike sells them still.
Yeah, honestly, Mike, I'm not even saying this. Like, they're probably, in terms of all like the sneakers I have, top 2 in terms of comfort level.
I mean, that sole is really thick. They're nice.
Yeah, and it's a resale.
Yeah.
Somebody else wore these for a period of time.
Yeah, and now Paul's wearing them. And I have this theory, too, about, like, thrifted clothes that, like, when you wear clothes that someone else had, you're wearing, like, part of that person. Because when you buy something brand new and you use it, you're leaving part of yourself on it. So when someone else finds it, and when you donate it and give it a second life, someone else is now repeating the cycle, and they can just go on and on and on and on and on, which is awesome to me because anyone who's ever worn something that's used, it has a feeling to it, and it's just you can't.
It's an interesting sense of community that you're framing up there.
Yeah. And just like the idea, like sort of like GameStop, like where you take your video game in, trade it in, buy a different one. Yeah, now it's like you can do the same thing with clothes. Like, you don't have to just go to the store and buy something that you don't really care for just because you don't think there's nothing else out there.
The hypebeast.
Yeah,
get your fit off.
Power to everyone. Like, do what you love and what makes you happy, because life's short, man. Like, it's crazy to think I've been doing this for 5 years, not completely full time, but just the idea, it just blows my mind that I do this, and that I'm sure there's other people out there who have ideas that seem super far out there that might never work, but if you just keep putting in the work, it'll just happen.
And I would just say, I mean, we're both in our 20s. Mm-hmm. Anybody else within the same age range watching this, if you're not married, you don't have kids, you don't have a lot of debt, this is the best fucking time to take some risk.
Any day's a good day to take a risk. Just get up earlier tomorrow or something.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
What's
Go
the
to
extra
bed a little bit
sleep?
earlier. Yeah.
Is that extra hour of sleep going to kill you?
Definitely not.
Probably
I mean,
not.
if you woke up, you're good.
Yeah. I mean, like 8 hours to 7 to 6, it's really not going to change your well-being that much.
And that's how you start changing. You slowly switch up the way you do things, and then your old way of behavior completely is unnatural to you because you've changed into your next like evolution, like Pokemon style. You know what I mean? You just keep constantly leveling up and changing to the point where you're at this level where you never could have pictured yourself. And all as it started was, all right, I went to bed a half an hour earlier 5 years ago, and now I'm here.
It's crazy how habits form like that, quite frankly.
Yeah, and
I mean, that's subtle.
As humans, that's what we are. Like, if we didn't form habits, our life would be chaos.
I agree.
We just form, like, a lot of people, and myself included, we all have bad habits, but if you could recognize them and do something about them, then you're on the fast path to success.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, right now, it's this: the younger you are, the better to start forming those habits. Take more of those risks, because as you get older and you have more responsibilities, more liabilities, whatever you financially, personally. I mean, There's nothing wrong with having a family and having kids and having a big house, but they're liabilities.
Definitely.
You have to account for them. I've had something I've been doing personally over the past year, it's been about a year now, is joining networking groups, but intentionally with older people. At minimum 15, 20 years younger than me. I've gotten to know a few quite well. And it's interesting. Multiple have come up to me and would say, I would kill to be your age right now. I'm like, why? I mean, I'm making some money by my own easy street. And, you know, I got some bills to pay and all that. But it's like, no. You're 25 years old without anything holding you back.
Yeah.
The worst thing you can do is, let's say your business fails. That's the worst thing that can happen to you.
Yeah.
If you're 30 years old, it's like it never happened.
Exactly. And that's where people just need to realize that it's like, it's not that hard. Like if you love something, you'll find a way to make money on it. That's making money on something is the easy part. It's figuring out the other stuff, like figuring out what you truly love. Because once you figure out what you love, it's just game over.
To me, you find the best people or the most passionate people, the most persistent people, and they'll find a way to make it work.
Yeah. Because I know for a fact I'm going to work as hard as I can on this clothing thing, so I never have to work for someone else. Because when I work for someone else, I'm just a shit employee. I just can't care because that level of, unless it was like maybe a smaller company where I'm not just a number. Like I base all this off of me working my last job at Giant, where I was just a number to someone else and no one really gave a shit about what I did. So it makes it really hard to care about your job when no one
can say work too.
Yeah,
I feel like
because we were put on earth to work, you know what I mean? Not in a bad way, but just, in my opinion, we weren't just put here to just like sit around and just like, buy stuff with money with a job that we didn't per se really.
We're consuming more than producing. We're not built like that.
Yeah. And now with this, like the internet, the way it is, there's so much to consume that it can just be draining to you.
There's still
never ending.
It's less producers and consumers still.
Yeah.
And I've had conversations with people like, oh, it's oversaturated to start this YouTube channel or be this marketer. No, it's not.
No, it's never oversaturated because if you do you, there's no one else other in the world like you.
You need a fraction of % of a market.
Yeah. I mean,
you don't have to be the best in that market.
It's like the 80-20 rule.
Yeah.
Shout out Pat Note on that one again.
Yeah, he's going to get tagged in this one.
Yeah.
He said it in the actually direct message.
That's funny.
He's got to play this in his class now.
That would be sick.
That would be fun.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't need as many, like I said, 80-20 rule. For those of you who don't know, 80% of your customers come from, what was it? Yeah, I'm butchering it right now.
I believe in
80% of your business comes from 20% of your customers. And I can attest to that because some of this people I've sold so many things to that it's like, what more could there be for them to buy? But they know I got good shit, so they want to buy it.
They're essentially the unlimited consumer. It's the same person who orders pizza 3-4 times a week, but they don't necessarily get pizza. They might get pizza and wings. They might get a stromboli one night. They might get pasta another. Yeah. Or, might get a quesadilla if you got that on your menu. And what they love your brand and what you do at the end of the day.
And if you make them feel good when you walk in the door, then that's even more. Because that's the biggest thing with me, like now owning my own business. I hate when I go to a business consistently and they don't recognize that I've been there before. Or
over time, I do get fed up. If you almost,
like the idea, it's like, come on, appreciate me a little bit. Like I could go somewhere else. Like, and that's why I just personally love when someone comes up to me and is just like, I really fuck with what you do. I love what you do. I appreciate that you can go out and do this. So I don't mind paying the extra money for the item that you have.
To me, that's a job well done from just a service level standpoint, just a branding standpoint. It's interesting you say about the whole recognition thing. Yeah. I mean, I work with a lot of restaurants, and it's crazy the statistics in terms of what it takes to actually become like a regular at like a restaurant or like eatery. It takes like the 4th trip to lock you in. Yeah. You need to have like really 3 good experiences to want to come back, just because we're so creatures of habit. And like the places that we frequent, the places that might already make us warm and fuzzy, and the places where we know we're getting the best pizza or the best deals,
Yeah. Yeah. And it just comes down to it. Like we said, retail isn't dead. It's just the shitty ones are dying off. Like there's a reason why these big box stores are dying off, because they have employees who don't give a shit about their job. So it's like they're not going to provide a good service.
They lack soul.
Yeah. Well, I mean, those big corporations just suck it right out of you. Like if you're on the bottom of it, it's just, what's the point?
They don't empower their employees at all. And
No.
you can empower entry-level employees. I'm a firm believer in that.
Definitely. You got to give them a reason to work, and you got to make them feel important.
Even if it's not upward mobility, it's like make their job as fulfilling as possible while they might work there for 6 months to a year.
Even just a little bit of time it takes to tell someone they're doing a good job or saying, you know what I mean? Like,
and so many studies have backed that up where I've come across, I can't pinpoint exactly. You might have to get Jordan or a fact finder on this. But, I mean, with that, it's a lot of people respond more to like the verbal, like good job, rather than, hey, here's an extra 10 cents on your paycheck.
Yeah, because what's that going to get me at the end of the day?
And 10 cents per hour extra. It's like, okay.
Like $4 if you work 40 hours a week.
So like, cool. I can buy a Hershey bar with it.
Yeah.
Maybe a bottle of Fiji water.
Yeah. And
I think with retail too, it's the lack of customer service, especially on the front end. And it's not necessarily the front end employee's fault.
yeah.
It's the fact that it's a top-down approach. And alternatively too, I feel like big box retail lacks experiences.
Definitely.
When you go in. I feel like the future of retail is you come into a space, you might not necessarily purchase from a point of sale standpoint right then and there, but it's interacting with the products, interacting with the services. It was almost physical retail is going to serve as a marketing touch points.
Yeah.
Like brand awareness, product awareness for those companies. And I think one company doing it really well right now is Apple. They've been doing it for a while. It's like the fact that you go to the Apple store, someone's willing to help you within 30 seconds.
Yeah. And it's just such an experience. That's that's the biggest thing I see is that all these stores, they're just trying to push you through, get your money, take your money, you take something and leave. Where it's like when you created an experience at a store, it gives you that feeling like, oh, I got what I wanted. And it was just so awesome that I couldn't see myself going anywhere else other than there because I want to feel that again.
Yeah, I tried out all these new laptops.
Yeah.
That I think I would like. And I really like fun inventive way.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's just like, I mean, you go in the Apple store, it looks cool. Everyone's nice to you. The people who are in there, like, it's just a good experience. So it's like that's something that you can't even put a dollar amount on. Like when you go in somewhere and you just feel that oneness, that connection to all the people in there, and you just know that you belong there and that you feel good in there and comfortable. Because nothing's worse than you go into a store and you walk in there and no one says hi to you. They got no music on, or they got some like the parts of the brand don't match up with each other. And then it's just like you leave and you're just like, oh, I would have bought something in there if they were actually nice to me or cool. But it's like they're just sitting there, don't want to talk to me, don't care about me.
And vice versa. It's almost when sometimes the reps are too salesy.
Sure, definitely.
It's always a joke. I tell people in the mall, like Zoomies, I used to shop there quite a bit. Mm-hmm. Hey, you need help? Why don't you try this one? This is on sale back there. Thanks, I'm just looking around.
Yeah. Or like when you're like walking through the mall and like one of those guys trying to sell you on some hand soap or something.
Middle of the mall shit.
Yeah, and it's just like, I mean, there's a reason why that shit's dying, but at the same time, there's a lot of people still keeping it going. I just feel like the people who will watch this would probably be a certain target audience of people that will understand what we're saying. So.
Oh, absolutely. Especially in context of just frequenting the mall.
Yeah.
Interesting. We're talking about quality of service. How do you try to do that in your business, being predominantly online?
The biggest thing is just being myself, being honest with people, being straightforward, and knowing that every time I get a product, I'd rather how do I want to say this? I'd rather you get the item and it be nicer, better looking, and more quality than you even imagine. So when you get it, there's no sense of buyer's remorse. Because nothing's worse than buying something online. You paid for it, you wait for it to get there, it gets there, and it's just like, what did I buy? Like, this wasn't what I wanted. And then, so that's my biggest thing is just letting people know, like, I'd rather like give something to someone that, in my opinion, it's a 7 out of 10, but to them it's a 9 out of 10.
Yeah.
Because at least it makes me feel good that if they get it and they think it's nicer than I thought it was, then that means they're satisfied and that means they'll come back for more. Mm-hmm. And that's where I feel like a lot of places don't value that idea that one interaction with someone can totally ruin their
100%.
perspective on you.
I see it all the time. With this customer reviews, working with certain businesses, It takes one bad experience, even if you're a loyal customer, to turn you the hell away.
Especially like when you buy stuff online, because it's like you have the perceived idea of what it is in your head before you get it.
Purchase it, correct.
And then you're waiting to get it. So it's like on top of that, like you create that like as you wait for it,
anticipation.
And
like
it makes
it looked awesome.
Yeah,
it
and
said all these cool features, and when you
because
get
it's
it,
like I'm not gonna sell some dingy, dirty, stained up shirt to someone and say it's like, oh, it's a 10 out of 10, perfect condition, and then you open up the bag and it's like got stains, it smells like dog shit, and you're just like, oh yeah, like that's great. I definitely want to buy from him again. He's an honest, reputable person, and I've just realized like throughout the years that people who don't succeed in my industry, that's part of their problem, is that they don't care enough to really sell a good quality product. They just want to push it.
Product and service.
Yeah.
Because they want to make a buck.
Yeah. And everyone wants to make a buck. Don't get me wrong. I want to make money, but at the same time, I'm not going to deceive someone into thinking they're getting something they're not.
And I bet how long you've been doing this where you probably undervalued a lot of products, and you probably got repeat customers who loved it.
Yeah, and it's just crazy how the markets have changed. Like NASCAR shirts, like you used to not be able to give them away, and now it's like 30, 40, 50 bucks for some of them.
Which
is
is
just like insane. Like
a year or two ago, we wouldn't be talking about them.
No, they would just be like irrelevant. Like you just wear it because you might have thought NASCAR was cool or whatever. But
I think it's like a Florida rapper thing, honestly.
Yeah,
like big baby scumbags always wearing them.
Yeah, like there's just so many things now, and now that the internet's so relevant and people want to wear like something that has like a nostalgia of their childhood, like maybe your dad had like an old Orioles jacket or something, and you're out thrifting and you find one. It's just like, oh, I remember when I was 8, my dad wore that jacket, and that makes it all the much more cool to me because it's like my dad had a similar one. It reminds me of my childhood, and now I have one. Yeah. So it's like it just keeps the cycle going, and then the same thing will happen with your kids, and it's just like a never-ending cycle of creating a want for a product that someone used, someone got rid of, and now it has a new life because there's a younger generation of people who want it.
Why do you think nostalgia is so powerful?
I mean, who doesn't like reminiscing on something? Like, I think back, like, I don't know, like Penn State football when I was younger was like popular, like from where I was from, Altoona, PA. What's up? Lots of Penn State football there, Steelers football, and just like that certain stuff just like sits home with me. Like I don't spend all my time watching football, but the idea that like when I see a Steelers shirt or a Penn State shirt, just reminds me of being like 8 years old watching football with my dad or my grandparents or something. Like it's just people want to get that feeling, and once you have that feeling, you can't recreate that feeling. So it's like if you have a product that emulates that feeling, the product's already sold.
It's coming back to that happiness point with marketing. You're evoking those, prolonged feelings of happiness.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with the product itself, the actual product. It's that feeling that someone's going to put it on and feel like, wow, this is what I remember my dad wearing this, and it was awesome. Like, but to him, it was just another jacket he wore because he liked the Orioles or something. You know what I mean?
It's crazy. Like, while I was at my home decor, wall decor startup, I worked with a professional photographer for a number of years, sold landscape photography as prints canvases for a little reference. We were able to track sales data, like I really pinpoint this, where over 50% of our sales, there were prints selected that were within 50 miles of the shipping address being shipped to. That wasn't just an anomaly. Yeah. That was like hundreds of prints we're talking about. And that number spiked over 60, almost 70% when you do a 100-mile radius. Dang. People were buying locations that were near and dear to them, whether it be a college, university, hometown, you name it. It's crazy how emotion plays into effect of what we do and what we purchase on a daily basis.
Yeah, and it's just wild to me that something that started off as like a genuine like nostalgia thing to me is just grown into a business where every day I'm finding new things that maybe is a new type of nostalgia to me. Like, it's just crazy. And two, that every part of the country is different. You find different things all throughout the country, and there's a select number of people in the areas that are really interested in like those things. Like, you find a lot of people find old Levi's in like the Midwest because they were mining towns, and that's what the miners would wear. You know what I mean? Like around here, like Pennsylvania area, you find like Penn State, Steelers, Eagles stuff. And just because people around the world don't want that stuff doesn't mean that there isn't that
There's
quality.
a market for it.
Exactly. And that's the thing I find about people who do similar things as me. People who are successful sell local stuff, and people who aren't don't see the bigger picture that there are locals who want this stuff. They want something that they had
There's
20
niche
years ago.
markets
Yeah,
all
and
across the country
there's
for pockets.
billions of them now with the internet. Like, because some dad who had a shirt 25 years ago can now get on eBay and find it again.
And now a bunch of people want Dale Earnhardt shirts for whatever reason.
Everyone wants everything. It's like, it's just crazy, like the amount of stuff. Like the internet's put so many things onto the map that there's no taking it off now. Like now that there's stuff that I wish I would have bought a couple years ago when it was cheaper, but now it's just like there's no going back in time. You know what I mean? If I want it now, I just got to bite the bullet and know that it'll probably even go up in more value. That's the other cool thing, that like I've sold stuff to people for $20-$30, and now that same item that they have is worth $100. And it's like, I can't be mad that I sold it for cheaper because I still made my money, because now they get the opportunity to. And that's the cool part about recycling stuff, that you had it, you made a profit on it, now someone else can enjoy it, and then when the time comes, they can probably flip it and sell it if they know what they're doing.
Speaking of giving people an opportunity, is there any kind of like last thoughts or plugs, words you want to say there to everybody out there tuning in?
Yeah, shout out my homie Canyon. We run the page Keystone Clothing together.
Give it a follow. It's fire.
Yeah, we got some good stuff on there. Shout out my wife Nina. Shout out my brother-in-law Ezio. Skate Plug. Look him up on Instagram.
There you go.
SK8 Plug. He's the man. He's about to be on that next wave of the skate shoes, man. They're about to pop off.
Really?
Yeah.
I'll have to talk further about that on another time.
Yeah, it's sick. If I missed anyone, you know who you are, my family, everyone. We're about to get on this again in the future. So.
Oh, absolutely. It's already certain.
Yeah, this is awesome. Paul's the man.
Hey, you're the man.
Heck yeah.
Schiffbauer Over Rocks, Mad Mike. It's been fucking lit.
Hell yeah.